And it gets interesting when you start getting into invasive species and whether they're good, because in some cases there are technically invasive species that benefit us, but at kind of like what cost, and also if we weren't causing these problems, we would have better supplies. So I guess the reason why you see clover everywhere is because, one, it's really good at moving around, which helps its ability to be invasive, but since the bees are pulling a lot of nutrients from the clover, you could make the argument that the clover is actually beneficial and maybe is not technically invasive. Because the definition of an invasive species is any organism not in its native habitat causing either economic or ecological harm.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting debate. There are a ton of examples where this definition is applied loosely in favor of another organization. I know there's a huge debate over wild mustangs out west. Cattle farmers don't like them because they're taking away grazing land for their cattle, but ecologists like them because horse grazing, actually horses used to be native to America about 20 or so million years ago, and it kind of brings back that native grazing style that is different from cattle. And so horses, I believe, they rip out a whole plant, and so that allows specific niches to open up so that you get this constant spread of different plants and mixing, whereas cattle, when they graze, they just bite down to the roots, and that allows the grass to come back in most cases. But that also allows a specific grass to kind of take over, because plants that can't handle being almost completely eaten and come back from the roots die, and the grass takes over, and then there's nothing to kill the grass because it can actually survive being partially eaten.
Interesting.
It gets very interesting, and there's just a ton of examples of this where something was introduced for a specific cause, it got out, people found a use for it, and now if you take it away, it could cause more harm than
So it's naturalized now, so
exactly.
yeah.
But you also run into the issue where if something changes and it's no longer beneficial to humans, what happens then? Because it still has the qualities of being invasive, so it could technically get out of hand if nobody's going out of the way to harvest it or control it in some way.
Interesting.